Everybody can hear me, yes? All right, cool. So, welcome. We are talking about next summer's Myanmar trip today. We're going to go over a couple different things, a couple different parts of the presentation, and then we'll have mostly Q&A at the end. So if you have questions and stuff, try to save them to the end so we can all kind of go through everything, all right? I want to thank a lot of the past Myanmar team members are here to join us. Thank you. Janet, Mia. Check it, yes. Please pass this to Mr. Steve. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. All right, cool. So let's get started. So we're gonna go over 4 main chunks. So we'll do a recap of the summer trip, so you guys can see like what actually happened this past summer. We're gonna talk about what this program is, because some people are just like, Myanmar, what's that? Or what are we doing? Who's, that kind of stuff. We're gonna talk about who gets to go. So usually we have to pick the students that get to go. We usually don't have enough seats for everybody, so we'll go over that. And we'll go over some of the reasons why you'd want to do this. So we'll go over that as well. All right. First thing is I'm going to show just the main bit of the video from the summer trip. So it's about 3 or 4 minutes long. The whole video is like almost 13 minutes long. So if you want to watch the whole thing, just go to YouTube and search for Hongyun Art Myanmar and you'll find it. All right. So let me see if this works here.
Winter's night, I saw just a burning light in the snow. Keep me warm, shelter me from the storm. On this night, I was slow. Brand new start, I was slow. Light in my heart, red glow. Drinking bars, days on the roofs of cars, in the burning streets, so I was slow. I never wanna leave you, I never wanna go. You're the warmth that's in my heart, and it makes me feel at home. I never wanna leave you, I never wanna go. I hope you'll still be here next year. We'll go home when the town closes, hang up our coats and lose our clothes. I'll keep you warm, shelter you from the storm. Winter's night, I slow. I never wanna leave you, I never wanna go. You're the warmth that's in my heart, and it makes me feel at home. I never wanna leave you, I never wanna go.
So let me show one little bit at the very end because it's worth showing. Because is Gianni here yet?
No.
Oh man, I really want Gianni to be here.
The other couple student late was messing us.
That's okay. It's okay.
I can do the warm.
I'll do it. Oh my God, Gianni, don't hurt yourself. Oh my God.
That's like long party trick. Whoa.
Let's do orange.
All right. Ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, go! Okay, so just for reference, this is not a common occurrence in Myanmar, to say the least. So actually, I mean, they don't even have like school dances and stuff. So it's not like a normal thing for people to be just having a fun time in a room. So we're lucky that the school was like kind of open to this. This actually came about because we had finished our project for the day, and the kids, our students, were like, let's go outside and play some games again, because we usually start with like get to know you games first, so like the kids can kind of interact and get some energy out and do this kind of stuff. The teacher's like, no, you cannot go outside, and we're like, why? That's kind of odd. We just want to play, they're just going to go have fun. And they said, let's go up into the gymnasium or the roof room. And we're like, okay, that's fine. They later explained to us that they were worried that the other kids in the school were going to get jealous because they saw our kids like having, and they're like part of their student population having fun with our kids, and everybody wanted to do this. So it was a lot of fun. And this was, just, so this underscores that we actually have some idea what's going to happen, but literally like when we arrive, the schools we visit, like the activities that we do, it's all sort of planned by our partner over there, and I'll go over who that is and what happens. But it's really sort of it's kind of like go with the flow kind of thing. So some days we're like, hey, we're gonna do this, and it's like, okay, and we follow along with them, and something cool happens. So we try to get like schedules and everything like locked in, but it's hard. it's a little hard with the people over there sometimes, but it's actually a lot of fun. So let's continue this. So yeah, that was our summer trip. We also, that was actually the first half of the trip. We actually spent another half of the trip, which we don't have a video for, but you can go check out hongyunart.com/Myanmar. That has the Singapore side of things. Singapore was fun. We did like pretty much everything you can do in Singapore. Like it was a really fun time. That's one of the robots from our hotel that served us. The girls kept ordering water because it was free, and the robot would bring the water to the room. So we're like, okay, order as many as you want. If it's free, why not, right? So they kept doing that. So let's go over what the program is. So basically, the conception of this program is that we, the kids here, they have tons and tons of things they learn and do. They're all like gifted, talented, wonderful students, wonderful kids. They're literally the luckiest kids in the world, we feel, right? And so what we're thinking is like, hey, you guys have so much to offer everybody else. Why don't we try this, where this place. They in Myanmar, they actually converted to a democracy. Well, they call it a democracy, but at least they have elections and things like that going on. They converted in 2011, so it's actually quite. If you think about it, their country was just sort of reborn, and so now they're trying to modernize everything. So they're trying to modernize the roads. There's no subway system. There's no highways. There's no freeways. Everything's just roads with like stoplights. So it takes forever to get everywhere. There's a bus system that sort of works and it's okay. So they have a long way to go. So there's a lot of people investing time and money in infrastructure. So we're investing in education because that's what we can offer, right? You guys, all the students here, you have life experiences, school experiences, knowledge. The things that you guys do are way more advanced than what the kids here are learning. And a lot of it is because they've been kind of stuck in a cycle. Before the 2011 time, they had pretty much a dictatorship, and they actively sought to pretty much weaken the education system so they can maintain control, right? So we talked to some of the people there. They said, yeah, during those times, like high school was literally you stay at home and do whatever you want, and you take a very basic test at the end of the year, and it was like anybody could pass it and anybody could graduate high school, and that's kind of how they did things because they wanted to maintain control over everybody. So now that everything is kind of getting better, so we're there to help with a lot of this. So what we do is, you can see a little bit of it. We design projects here that we can deliver to the students there within a 2 to 3 hour time frame. So it's not like super long extended projects that take days and days. We visit a school a day. Usually 3 to 4 schools is our experience in the past. And then the idea is that we'll have the kids have fun. They want to learn these kind of things, show them these cool things that they can learn. And the real idea is to show the teachers that our kids are teaching the other kids. So that's the key, because we've asked the kids, have you ever done anything like this before, where you taught another child or a class of kids? Like you saw our kids, they're standing up in front of a room of 40 other kids teaching students, their peers, their age. Bella did this, Chloe did this, right? So you guys did this, right? And to them, it's a completely foreign concept. To us, it's normal everyday life, right? We have TA program, we have kids helping each other and learning, and by teaching other kids, they learn skills that we can't teach in class. So it's like this kind of follow-on effect, right, that we have. And so we want the teachers there to start recognizing that the kids there can help each other, and that if we can teach you how to do these things, right? That's what we want to teach them primarily, right? So this is a real world sort of summer camp. It's not like a summer camp in the true conception of summer camp, where you go to camp and you do a couple of things and you go home. This is our idea is to have it be a real world sort of thing, where it's actually we go there, not everything goes as 100% as planned, right? Things go off the rails, we get stuck in traffic, it starts raining in the middle of the thing, the roof starts leaking in the school, we go to a school, there's no electricity, everything can happen.
40 students, somehow it's going to go 100 students.
Yeah, that was the biggest surprise. So when we do these things, we give our partners parameters, hey, we're gonna have 40 students at school. We're gonna pack enough, just a little bit extra, in case something doesn't go right. We'll have a little bit extra, and we show up at the first school. Actually, this school, this is Tamway Public High School or public school, and it was 100 kids, and we're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? So we pull our boxes and bags. We're like, okay, this is what we have. You guys figured out, so they had 10 minutes literally to pull apart everything that we had packed and got ready. And we're like, okay, let's take the little funny ball things, and we have headbands, and we'll do that, and we were planning other projects completely, and we came up with something at the last minute, and everybody loved it, and it was great. I mean, the team performed as expected. They performed wonderfully under pressure. And that's kind of what it is. You learn to deal with adversity, obviously, because you guys are used to hopping in your car, going down to class, and it takes you 5 minutes. That last school where we had the big dance party, that school is 8 miles away from where we were staying, and it took us about an hour and a half to get there every morning. And it was, it's not easy. So it's you learn to deal with these things. You learn to deal with parameters changing on you last minute, you learn to deal with, things not going right, you learn to deal with the humidity affects paper and everything else. And we've learned that several times where it's like, hey, we're going to do these cool paper projects. And you get there and you build it and it just kind of floops down. It's like, oh my gosh, the paper has absorbed all the water. What do we do? So we're like, hey, let's get a box of rice and stick everything in the box of rice and blow dry everything. And, it's just, we do what we can. This school was a school for deaf students. That's why they're signing thank you or hello. So that was extra fun. We had to translate to English to Burmese, and Burmese into sign language. So it was like playing telephone back and forth for a while. But it was actually a really, really interesting experience. So like I said, I can't guarantee that we're going to visit these exact schools because it is kind of, every time we go, it's been different. So that's what I honestly love about it. It's like every time we go, it's like, wow, okay, we're throwing a new challenge. So it doesn't get like routine. So that's kind of cool. And the thing is that we are truly making a difference. And I'll show you the next slide that the things that our partner team has been reporting back to us. And we work on special projects with Lalla and her team. So I'll explain who Lalla and our partner is in a little bit. So far, some things we've achieved, we've been kind of just getting like little communiques from our partners. The projects that we've developed, some of the projects we've developed have been included in this thing called the Maker Box. So not every, of course, like the schools there, a lot of the schools, they don't even have electricity. They're kind of out in the jungle somewhere, small villages. These projects get boxed up in a like a kind of a kit format. So enough, like the schools have like 40 students. They get a box with 40 kits and they can do projects with the kids and have them do a little bit. Our partners will do like videos to explain like what's going on in the kits, like how it works. They do it in the local language there. So they develop their own projects and then we've contributed some of ours to there. So that's really cool. We actually helped with an English learning app that's being used by 1.5 million students in Yangon right now. Our students, of course, they're native English speakers, so they speak English perfectly. So they wanted us to record lots of, things out of their national textbooks. So that we spent a few days, with them, with our partners doing this. And the point of the app is that if you take your phone and you point it at their textbook, so all of their textbooks across every grade is the same. So every school child, let's say in the 6th grade, can use this app to point their phone at the book. Something in AR will pop up. It's really cool, actually. And you push it. You push like, a banana pops up and you'll hear the word banana, and that's our students saying those words. Some of the kids have sang like songs and, like said random sentences. It's really funny. It's funny on our side, but it's actually extremely helpful on their side. And then one of the times we went, they actually asked us to do body education. This is something that's normal for middle and high schoolers here. Most people take the class. Some people opt out of it, of course, but this is a normal subject that our kids learn about here. And there, it's a completely taboo subject. So nobody, it's not even discussed in home. It's not discussed in schools. Nobody knows anything about this. So everything from disease, pregnancy prevention, that girls have rights that say no, all these sort of things, they're not discussed at all. And we're like, really? That's so weird, And they're like, yeah, it's just this thing. It's cultural. So Lalla, she's kind of a thought leader in Myanmar. She has the ear of the Ministry of Education, and they're going through this whole curriculum revamp for every 5 years. And so she's trying to push that into their curriculum, saying hey, we need to do this. And our kids just basically broke down how this works in our schools, right? We sat down, we talked about it, and we're like, yeah, this is what they teach us, this is what they say, this is what we learn, so that they can have at least the bare bones outline of it. And hopefully that's truly important stuff important information that needs to get in. So we're hoping that happens. So we'll talk a little bit about just our Hongyun Foundation, the vision that we have for the foundation. So we are, so our school, basically most people here, they kind of heard this already, but our whole idea of art and everything it's beyond pretty pictures. So we want people to kind of think like an artist. And artists are people who they're basically entrepreneurs. in a sense. They take resources that are unloved or unused and they put them together and make something wonderful out of it. That's essentially what an artist does, right? So they take things, ideas, objects, castaways, anything, and they put it together to make something new. And that's what we want our students, the way we want them to think, not only about their work, but about what they're doing outside of here. So that's kind of our vision. So for the foundation, we want it to be led and run by kids. So we put very minimal adult effort into this. Kids, the students are basically self-managing, self-running everything. So with like the TA team, we have a TA manager, TA boss, Annie somewhere here. Somewhere here, I don't know. Annie. So Annie's the one who sends out a lot of the updates to all the parents and all the TAs. So thank you, Annie. Been doing a good job of keeping on schedule with that. And she has like a little mini team that she bosses around and gets everything done. But she's ultimately she's the one that I point to, like, hey, why is this not sent out? Or hey, what's going on? And so she's the one that's on the hook for that. So that's what we basically want, is kids to learn how to do these sorts of things. So we focus on 3 main areas. So one is outreach and leadership. Another is community benefit, so things that help our community around us, and then entrepreneurship. And so for this program, we actually have a goal of driving the cost of the program to 0 if possible. So through selling products, through students and volunteering for camps and all sorts of things that we want to do. This is one of the things that over time we're working on getting to. And fundamentally, like, we want to have a big impact and to provide real life experiences for our students. So we don't want anything to be fake. We don't want it to be like pre-planned. We don't want it to be like something that, it's not like you're not gonna get as much learning out of it. Because we find that the best learning is when, your hair is on fire and you're running around, you don't know what's going on, and that's when you learn something, right? You learn from having adversity. So then, unfortunately, but that's the truth of the matter. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about our partner, Lalla Winn. So Lalla is actually our partner in Myanmar. She's actually quite an interesting person. So Lalla, we basically met her through her work. So she was a student at Singularity University. This is like a Google-funded think tank, and their goal is they have this like summer program every year where they try to have these visionary entrepreneurs, like people who are like just driving to solve world scale problems. So their goal is to fund projects that seem like they're going to impact like 1 billion people within 10 years. So that's the goal. So Lalla is well on her way. She's been doing this. So her original idea was to have VR recordings of classrooms all around the world, so teachers can exchange ideas about how classrooms are run, because like a class in Myanmar is definitely very, very different than a class here. She recorded our school as one of the pilot schools. Also, I think she went to like some school on the peninsula, very fancy school, I forgot what it's called. And then her partners were in Finland and France, and so they recorded their schools and let teachers in Myanmar kind of watch how classrooms operate, so that they can see like, oh wow, they do it very different. Just to kind of shake them up a little bit, even if they don't know how it's run. Because a classroom in Myanmar is really just like a teacher walking around reciting something, and then the kids will all say it back to them all at once. So they're just memorizing what the teacher says. It actually sounds really pretty if you're there, you're listening. It sounds like the kids are singing almost. It's like, oh, that's pleasant. But then you start thinking about like, what are they learning? Like how. Like they're not actively using their minds they're just trying to remember everything as best they can. So Lalla, she grew up in Yangon. She dropped out of a high school as a teenager. So, and she told us that she didn't drop out because she was dumb. She dropped out because she was too smart for the school. She said, this is pointless. I don't need to be here. Later, she got a full scholarship to William Penn University. So through a bunch of trials and tribulations, she met up with some people. Actually, these people live in Santa Clara now. They're two gentlemen. They're like a gentleman and a lady. They're professors of Southeast Asian studies, and they actually lived in Myanmar in the 60s and 70s or something. And it's incredible. Then they were here. We actually got to meet them. It's really cool. So they met. She hooked up with these people. Their goal actually was to take kids in Myanmar, connect them to education outside of Myanmar, and get them to go out, right? The issue with Myanmar, of course, it's very poor. Like nobody can afford school without a full scholarship. So they had to figure out how to get people out of here, and they did it. And she was in their first like graduating class to come out. So that was very, very cool. So she helped campaign for Hillary in 2008. That was her sort of like aha moment with like, government and like, this is a way to change my country. So that's kind of how she explained it. Later, she got a full ride to Harvard Kennedy School in public policy. So she graduated. She met like Aung San Suu Kyi. Very cool. It's like amazing. Who's also a Harvard grad. And after that, she went to Singularity University for the Global Impact Challenge in 2016, the summer. That's where we met her. And then she founded the 360 Education VR program, and that was one of the finalists in that summer program. So they usually start with like 80 or 90 people from around the world. To get into the Singularity program, it's actually harder than Harvard. It's like less than 1%. It's like 4,000 or 5,000 people apply, and they pick like 80 people. And then to get to the very end, where they do another final like push to get your startup running, it's like 12 people or something like this. So she was the only one that actually did a nonprofit startup that year, and so she got funded for her nonprofit. So then she went back to Myanmar. She took the money, went back to Myanmar, and then she started her company to do VR stuff, to do education development, to do all sorts of things like working in education and technology. So it's actually really cool. So we're gonna talk a little bit about like, why would you wanna go? So some of the benefits are you get hands-on experience for sure, right? You get to create something, and then you get to see if it actually works or not. So that's the key thing is like I've been talking to some of the high schools, and they have these things called like FBLA and DICA. I know most of you guys know about this thing. And then when I found out what they actually do, I was like, it's weird, because they talk about business, right? They talk about ideas, they talk about all these sorts of things, and then they do presentations. And I was like, cool, okay, what do you do after the presentation? They're like, that's it, we get awards and we're done. And I was like, but how do you know if your idea works or not? They're like, I don't know. You're just done. You're done with it. You just go do something else. I'm like, that's okay, man. That's cool that you get to do a presentation in front of everybody, but I want to know if your idea works or not. That's our whole thing, right? If your idea works, you put it in front of a marketplace or something, and people start coming, and things start happening. If not, then it doesn't work. You have to go back and figure it out, right? There's having the initial idea, thinking it through is great, but fixing it and making it work is what we really want to do. We want to help set a course for Myanmar. So a lot of it is, they're at this sort of like interesting point that I was talking about. They're at like this period where they're open to new suggestions. They want people to come help. They want people to give them ideas. They want people to help teach them how to fix everything. And a lot of it is, like I said, you guys have all this knowledge and all this experience in your head, and you've embodied it, but they just need to get it over there. So that's pretty much it. You get to experience their culture, which is fun. Modern culture, ancient cultures, everything. This was funny, actually. This was, this picture is from a time when Lalla was going to meet this very, very important and influential monk in Myanmar. And, this is not something that we plan out. It's something that just happens. And she's like, hey, you guys want to go meet this monk? And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. Let's go. The team will love this. And she's like, oh, he's very important. And her team was all dressed up, very, very formal and very, very nice. We're like, oh man, we just have shorts and stuff. This is very weird, and then I told Patrick that remember this? This was funny. I told him that he couldn't wear shorts with stripes, that the monk would get offended. So he had to wear a lungi, like the girls, like the long skirt to cover his knees. So that was funny. It was good, it was fun. So yeah, we have fun on the trips. This is from the Circle train, which is kind of like their public transport. It goes around the city. It takes about 3 hours to go anywhere. It's the least expensive form of transportation, and that's how you see real Myanmar. So the central part of Myanmar, downtown, is kind of new fancy Myanmar, new fancy Yangon. And Lalla's like, you got to ride the Circle train. Take the kids on the Circle train, because they're going to see the real Myanmar. You look out the window and you see the slums and that's 95% of the country is like that. So, and then we usually stop at a stop and we walk through the market so kids can kind of experience daily life. And it's a very interesting experience. This is Shwedagon Pagoda. This is a 2,600-year-old religious monument. It's very, if you're Buddhist, everybody wants to go here, and everybody goes to pay homage and praise. It's actually, part of the structure is actually gold. It's like several hundred pounds of gold, which is interesting. And this is Bus Cafe, which everybody loves because it's got colorful drinks in bags. So we take them there, usually a couple times, which is fun. So you get a bunch of service hours. It's great for your college applications. The service, this is not updated. So we actually calculate, you actually get a lot more service hours because you're doing the prep time that you work on, meeting here and doing all that. We count all that. So it's great. If you're TAing and everything, you should have enough for like the gold award. Should be more than enough. It's good for your college applications and your essay. It's like, like life experience type of thing where it's like, yeah, I went to go like help kids in Myanmar. It's like, whoa, you did what? It's like, it catches their attention, right? It's really cool. And then several of our kids have done this 2 times, 3 times now. Who's a double so far here? No, one. I think a couple of kids have like, Kathy was 3, Jamie was 2, somebody else we got. Olive 2. Yeah, there's a bunch of kids that keep going. That was honestly, that was not our intent. When we started this, we were like, okay, we're gonna do this once, and everybody's like, cool. Then next time, like, I want to go. It's like, you want to go again? Like, yeah, I want to go again. I was like, okay. And so, but we found that it's actually cool if you go again, because then we have a team of leaders who've been there, and they know how to, like, it's like they know how to help the younger ones, the new ones come on the trip, because like, oh yeah, when you're designing the projects, like, oh yeah, you gotta be careful. They're not gonna have hot glue guns, or they're not gonna have this, or oh yeah, you're not gonna have this. Yeah, so it's like it helps to have like some of the seniors come along with us, and then. Yeah, like you become the program lead for the next group. So a lot of this is like when you're there, you're running the show. So it's not like me and Hongyun. We're just there to like we're the backstop. If something truly doesn't work, fine, we'll help you fix it. But usually I'm like just filming, and I'm just like, you go figure it out. I don't know. Like, you go figure it out. I don't know. They'll come running. I don't know how to do that. I'm like, you go figure it out. I don't know. Like it's your job, right? It's not my job to fix it. My job is to film you and be here to keep you alive. That's my job. So the next steps really. So we have a timeline. So we're going to talk about applications are due next Sunday. So there's a little essay portion or like a paragraph. Please spend a little bit of time on that. So you guys are in competition for this. So whoever has the best like sort of reasons of why you want to do this helps. We had one student submit something. It was like 1 word. I'm like, come on, like that's not enough, because it's not just us. We have to share this with Lalla, and right after the 16th, we have a Skype call with her. We go over everybody, talk about like, okay, this kid, and she has a say in this as well. hongyunarts.com/apply. We will do selections and notify everybody by the 19th, and then we have payments and all that stuff due by the 23rd. You'll need to check your passports for validity, 6-month validity from the date that we are leaving, I believe, which will be in either June or July, depending on which group you're picked for. And then we'll have meetings in January to talk about, we'll have one meeting definitely in January for everybody to come in, because we need to collect like your passports, your passport photos, and get all the things ready to apply for visas and all this kind of stuff. And then we'll have regular scheduled meetings with the teams to work on projects. Is that cool? All right. And I think that's pretty much it. We got a little bit of time for Q&A. Anybody have questions, comments? Victoria. What do you put in the essay? Just what interests you about the program. Why do you want to do this? What you think you can bring to the table. It's really about like just talk about why this looks interesting to you. It should be something personal. It should be something real, right? That's what we're looking for. So, yeah. Anybody else? Questions? Yes. How many kids? Right. So we have 2 groups. We're hopefully. I think we'll definitely have enough for 2 groups. It'll be 10 for each group. We find that that's the right number as far as like moving around. We've been to this time we're actually going. Sorry, I forgot to mention we're going to Japan. We're going to Osaka and Kyoto. So after the week in Myanmar, so the way it usually goes is we arrive like sometime Saturday night, Saturday afternoon in Myanmar. Afternoons mostly just rest time. Sunday is like a fun day-ish. That's usually where I go get a haircut because it's cheap and it's they have a really fancy haircut place for like $3 or $5. It's amazing. So we go get haircuts, we go eat some good food. Everybody go get boba, just like kind of decompress time. The point is to get them out of the hotel so they're changing time. So we like, hey, let's go get boba, and everybody loves that. So we go out to the mall, America style malls, just to kind of ease them in a little bit. So it's not like, we don't want to shock them too much. Then the Monday morning we go to our first school usually. We spend most of the day there. We spend the half day there. Some schools, actually this last time, that last school with the dance party and everything, they allowed us to have lunch at the school, which is the first time we've actually been allowed to have lunch with the kids to like interact with them after, the project time. They have this weird thing about, like interaction with foreigners and stuff for the kids. I understand they're suspicious of outsiders at some level, but the last school let us have lunch there, so that was really fun. And then we had, while we were having lunch, some of the kids who did the project with us, they went off and brought our kids some candy, and it was nice. Like we had a good, fun exchange. So if we don't have lunch there, we'll usually either go get lunch somewhere or find, or we'll go back to the makerspace if there's projects to work. So Lalla actually has a makerspace. It's a huge space, and we go there to either work on projects or work on setting up for the next day, or she'll have stuff lined up for our students that she thinks they could help with. So truly like it's busy time. And then there's in the pockets of time we'll do a bit of sightseeing. So Mo is one of the people we met before. She's actually like only 17 or 18 or something. I think she just turned 18. Yeah. So she was at the makerspace before. She doesn't work there anymore. But Mo is this kind of like super dynamic, fun kid who she's extremely smart. She wants to go to MIT. She teaches like programming, and she teaches language. She teaches everything to everybody that she can to make a living. But she also like hangs out with us when we're there, and she's like going around and she helps like tour guide for us, and she wants to take us to a few different places that we've never been. So hopefully we'll have time to do that. And then the next day it just kind of repeats like that. So every day we have like a school visit, something going on in the afternoon, hopefully something fun. Mo took us boxing, and we've gone boxing every time now, which is fun. Mia loves it. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Yes, question?
So will you stay in the same hotel when you
Yes.
for all the time?
Yes, right. So within Yangon, we'll stay in the same hotel. There is a chance that we're going to go to Mandalay, which is a different city. We're still working out the details of that, but most likely it'll be Yangon. Mandalay is a little harder to get to, and it's a smaller city, but it's there's a chance that we will do that.
And how
Yes.
about this time if we stop by at Singapore?
Oh, I mean as far as the flights go?
Yeah.
The flights are, it's either SFO, Hong Kong, Singapore, Yangon, or SFO, Seoul, Yangon. And so that's the two ones we usually do. And so you usually leave like the middle of the night, like at midnight or something, and then it's quite an ordeal to get there. It's about 20 something hours. It's it's a long flight. So most of the time, like what's nice is you're on the plane, you sleep, and then you wake up and hey, you're in Hong Kong or Korea or something, and then then we do plane changes and everything, and it usually works out pretty well. Yeah.
Can we fly from China to?
Yes. We've had one student do this before. The issue is that if your child, let me see, how do we do this? So the issues we've had with that is that the cost for the flights are actually more expensive if you do that, and it's weird. Like if you do a one-way, so we actually tried to book it gets a little messy. It is possible, but it gets a little messy. And then like getting like Carolyn from China to Myanmar, either you're gonna have to fly with her or something to get her there and then fly back, which is fine. That's what one of the students did in the past. They like the mom flew with the kid to Yangon, stayed a couple days, and then met up with us, and mom went back to China, I think, and then so it is possible. Yeah. Yes. Question.
So the date to finalize is 23rd, right?
Yes, I have it. I
The
know.
reason I ask,
Yes.
what if there's some plan change to realize there's some other engagement in February? So how to do it?
Yeah, so the issue is that we have to book everything as early as possible to reduce the cost and make sure that we can even get some of the places, because like the hotel we stayed at last time was really nice, very popular. And then the flights are not as often to Myanmar, so it can be dicey if we wait till later. I'm not entirely sure. We did have one student who got very ill like right before the last trip, and then she wasn't able to go, so we had to do like cancellations and like all that kind of stuff, so that was not pleasant. But
So you're trying to book the tickets like in this
January.
In January.
Yeah. Usually we do January because it's about 6 months in advance, and usually it's easier to do then. Like everything's pretty available, especially like for Japan, because like Kyoto and Osaka. Kyoto especially is hard because they have very like it's not a huge city, but a lot of people go there, especially in the summer. So I'm actually thinking of booking that now before everybody goes, and like I know then I can cancel it later, right? Hotels are easier to cancel, so that's what I'm planning. So try to check the dates if possible and see what you can do. Yeah. Yes.
The selection ratio, you mentioned that in the earlier sessions, they're not guaranteed everybody can go. So based on your experience, if
Yes.
you only have 20 students,
Yes.
usually what's the rate for acceptance?
I mean, we've had like, we've usually had about anywhere from like 30 to 50% more kids apply than that can go. So you'd say like if in a group of 10, we'd have like maybe like 15 people apply. And a lot of it is that it's not like the most experienced, the oldest kids go. We picked super young kids to go, and like Bella was 11 the first time she went. Looks like she's gonna maybe go again, and I think you're 12 now, right? Yeah. So yeah, so this is fine, And yes, question.
What are the language barriers?
Language barriers. So we have Lalla she sends part of her team to travel with us to make sure that we can get places, and they help with some of the translation. When you have one of you 10 of us, 100 students, and you have maybe 3 translators, it gets a little dicey, right? So they're not going to be by your side helping to translate the whole time. You'll just have to make do. So usually what we found is in some of the schools, in some of the groups, one kid will be like, "Oh, I understand what they're talking about," and they kind of help explain. And then it's part of the experience. It's not going to be 100% smooth the whole time. So it's fun. Yeah.
So if you have 10 spots,
Yes.
do you give priority to newbies versus someone who's gone before?
I don't think we'll fill up all 20 spots with people who have gone before. That's the question. Like, we'll definitely have spots for newbies.
But is that the priority?
I think we try to balance the group so that there's some newbies and then some, because that way they have a lead option, like to help with training the group and everything. So it should be pretty well balanced between like newbies and people who've done this before. So yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so when we apply online, so we get the option to choose which session we're on.
Right. So when you apply online, you get a preference to choose which one.
It's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. Yeah, we try to honor the preference because what happens is if there's like 30 people apply for one and then there's like 4 people on the other one, we have to start balancing the groups out. Otherwise, we'll have to say no to 20 something people, right? So it has to balance out. But then things like boys, we have to have at least 2 boys to room together, right? So that's generally how that works. Yeah.
What's the safety
Safety. We've never had an issue with safety. So like in central Yangon, it's just like a city. Like everything, people go about their daily lives. You know, things we see on the news, yes, they are definitely horrible. They're terrible, but we're not like making a political statement, or we're not involved in any of this. Lala's not involved. It's just, you know, the like crossing the street's a little, you know, dangerous. It's like if you're going to China and you cross the street, same kind of thing, right? So it's other than that, I mean, it feels safe. Like there's nothing, like we haven't had any like alarms or any problems or anything like this. Just it's like a normal.
Food and water.
Food and water. Food is so you eat a lot of Burmese food for sure. It's delicious. Burmese food, thumbs up. How many Burmese food thumbs up? Yes. Burmese food, thumbs up. Yes, it's very good. Yeah, so there will be vegetarian options. There will be, we had Eddie. Eddie is allergic to half of the things that people can eat, and he was okay, so he was fine. So they would make a special box of food for him, and we called it Eddie food, and he would only eat the Eddie food. So yes.
So how about the health issue? The medical insurance things, we do use our own medical insurance, or?
So we have travel insurance. So we do travel insurance for the whole trip.
Kids get sick there?
We have, you know, we know where the hospitals are, and there's a plan in case something goes wrong. We have like people there that are with us all the time who speak local language, so we can always rush students, you know, to the place if needed.
Will anything happen before?
No, nothing's happened before, even with Eddie, who's.
I just wondering if something happened, like emergency things, and the kids were sent to the hospital.
Yes.
So we use our own emergency insurance, medical insurance.
So the first priority for us is make sure that you know everybody's okay. So if there's payments or anything, we pay. Like it's fine.
We purchase the like travel insurance.
Yeah, it's like we always have the travel insurance purchase, so it's included in the everything. Yeah. So the travel insurance covers like medical, you know, evacuation, all that kind of stuff. So it's all covered in there. But I mean, first priority is like do whatever you can to help everything, and then whatever after we figure out after, it's fine. Yeah.
And which airline you took?
Which airline? I don't know. We've taken a lot. Korean Airlines is my favorite because you get bibimbap between San Francisco and Hong Kong, which is really good. I mean, it's insane to think, but like bibimbap in the air is actually pretty fun. We've taken Singapore before. Singapore and Silk Air, they like co-share, but usually it's one of those two. Yeah, those are the routes we've taken. It could be different. I'm not entirely sure. It just depends on like the schedules and like, you know, what's available. Because when we book for like, you know, 12 people, it can get a little hairy. So, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
So you're going. Is there another teacher?
Hongyun. So it's just me and Hongyun.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second question for the payment. So the donation is 3,000 something.
Yeah, it's like 50, 3,050. Yeah, because we've in the past it was a little bit higher, but we had like shortfalls in the travel costs, so we've upped the travel costs a little bit to make sure that it's even as much as possible. And then so that's like airfare, you know, transportation, food, hotel, that kind of stuff. The donation portion covers like Lala's team and all that, the people that come help us and all these things that happen, like they set up and everything.
So I heard there is like credit or something to it.
Right, so if you do, so with the donation portion, we give you like a receipt. If you submit to your like employer and they do like matching, if they match at least 2,500, we credit 500 towards like tuition for your classes. So if you take a class and they match, then you get some credit back from that. If you do, there's also other ways that we help defray the costs of, you know, you go to Myanmar, and I think Sherry's done this once, I think Chloe's done this once, where you help out with like a camp, and then, you know, we basically credit you towards your tuition that way too. So it helps kind of offset the cost of everything. Yeah. Yes, Timo.
Are the projects all like craft-based projects?
Up to you. You got to figure out. You can do, if you have new ideas, then wonderful. I'm sure we can try it. Yes.
So the tuition, I remember 5,000 something. The portion include donation, right?
Yes. So that, altogether, it's that. Yeah. So that the 33,000-ish is tax deductible, and then like I don't know, 26 something is the other portion.
According to your past experience, how much prayer money the parents should prepare?
Oh, I don't know. Bella, how much money did you spend last time? You bought a lot of stuff. If you're going to Japan, you probably want to bring at least a few $100 for Japan. So we cover the food and all that stuff. We get all the meals, all the travel expenses, like subways, buses, everything's covered. The only thing they have to cover is like their own snacks and treats that they want outside of their meals. And then the other thing they would cover is like souvenirs and stuff. So in Myanmar, like everything is pretty inexpensive except boba. Boba is actually quite expensive there. It's like the same price as here, which is weird because it's definitely cheaper to make. But it's like, you know, every day they probably need like $5-10 max in Myanmar. In Japan, I don't know. You could get away with. I usually say like about $200-300 is about minimal. But kids have bought $500 and they usually whatever you give them, they usually spend it all. So I just try to budget what is okay for you guys. Yeah, they bring cash. Yeah, Myanmar is pretty much cash only. I mean, they could use a debit card at an ATM, but like in most places you go, they won't accept it. It's just cash. Yeah. So they can like they usually bring US dollars, and I'll change a bunch of money and then they just change with me. It's easier because as we're going around, we don't have to like go look for money changer places. So as they need it, they just change with me. At the end, whatever they don't use, they just change back to US dollars. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So how many days they spend on Japan and
Myanmar is 7 days, usually. So Saturday to Saturday, and then Japan is Saturday to Thursday. Usually it's about the right amount of time. So about 5 days ish. Japan, or the next portion.
So they first go to Myanmar, then go to Japan, then go back to Myanmar, right?
No. After Japan, you come home.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. After the 5 days Japan, we come home.
In Japan, it's just sightseeing.
Japan's mostly sightseeing. We have a few contacts there. We're trying to work some special things out with them, like that the Gobert guy.
Gobert, oh yeah.
Yeah, Gobert, Patrick's favorite paper robot is. The guy who created this lives in Kyoto, so we're trying to contact him, see if we can go visit his workshop. I'm sure it's an interesting place to go. So we don't want it to be like all like 100% sightseeing if we can help it. It'd be nice if we had like some small thing that can't be done otherwise. So try to leverage our friends and people we know. So.
Yeah, and one of my students, Shona Sukawa, he's got into the university in Tokyo. And then we try to work out with him, maybe that like some college club. It could be the local student over there. So depend on the schedule works.
Yeah, we're trying to work with them because their school schedule is a little bit different than ours. So we're trying to figure out what we can and can't do. Yes.
How do you decide which kid to choose? What kind of mentality? You prefer?
Qualities that we prefer. What kind of kids do you choose? I mean, honestly, like if we could take everybody, we would. It really just depends on. Not necessarily. It just depends on like the group dynamic. So we look at that too, like the energy of the group. So we don't want like all outgoing kids or all quiet kids. We want some like leaders. We want some kids who hang back. So it just depends. Like we have to sort of look at everybody that comes in and say like, okay, this kid would be this, and match them up and see what works. If it'll work or not. So that's kind of what we look at. So it just depends on the students. If they're if we see like they have the drive and the heart, they want to do these kind of things, then we definitely want to give them a chance. But it's just to figure out. Yes.
Can I contact my kids when she's there?
Yes, of course. So everybody will required to have a cell phone, of course. So kids are excited about this, always to get a cell phone of their own. We'll get SIM cards when we get to Myanmar. It's like basically unlimited data. It's like 100 gigs. It's like an insane amount of data, so they can do whatever they want with it. There's data in Japan as well, so you'll be in contact with them all the time. during the trip, actually, Hongyun is like basically live blogging the whole thing. So parents that have been here, been with us before, you'll get like, you'll wake up in the morning, it'll be like 5,000 photos. You're like, oh my gosh, where have they been? And you'll be looking at it like, wow, they did all these cool things. Oh, wow, that's cool. And so your parents will be on a private like WeChat with Hongyun's account, and then you'll see everything that's happening, like literally as we're doing it. Like it's pretty much real time. So like when we're getting on the bus, when they're eating candy, when they're we're stopped at a place to go look at something. I mean, it's you see the whole thing in real time pretty much. So way more photos than you get like on the website. We pared it down from like tens of thousands of photos, and so that you get like all of them if you want. So they're all there. Yeah. Yes.
At what point the Japan portion will be kind of schedule will be kind of there, where they will be doing the time they're in Japan?
When will we have a schedule for what's going on in Japan?
Yeah. What will happen?
That really, it'll get more solid. Like, so I usually book out like the big chunks first, like the airplane rides and, all that stuff. After we get that figured out, then we'll start looking at the individual things that we try to do. Things change, like conditions change. Sometimes things are closed, sometimes it rains. So we try to be as flexible as we can. Usually when like Hongyun and I travel, we don't like have too much of a hard schedule. I know it's sacrilege to parents. You guys travel and it's like, oh, we have to be at the museum at 8:52, and then we got to be over here at like 10:27. And I know some people are like that. We definitely aren't like that. We kind of go with the flow because a lot of times you actually happen upon something interesting just by. So a lot of it is like we talk to people like locals and like, hey, like what's that thing over there? And like, oh, that's the blah blah blah. Like, cool, come on kids, let's go see what this is, and we'll go check it out. And like we occasionally run into these sorts of like opportunities, and we want to be able to take them. So we kind of have rough like outlines of like, oh, we want to go see this thing and this thing, but we usually leave pockets of time that are sort of unscheduled so we can move things around. And also the kids get tired. Like in the last few trips, they get like tired. Even in Singapore, they like loved everything, but like, oh, I'm so tired. Because every day we're doing like 500 things. So this time we're trying to give a little bit more pockets of time for them to like. Kind of like, okay, optional day. You can, hang out at the hotel, go to the pool, or you can do whatever you want, and then the rest of the group will go do this. And so we're trying to be as flexible as we can to account for these things. Yes?
So for both sessions, Japan would be for both?
Yes. So So the trip outline is the same for both sections. What happens in Myanmar each time will probably be different. What happens in Japan each time probably will be roughly the same, but might be a little different each time. Yeah. Yes.
Are you and Hongyun will be in both sessions?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the plan. Yeah. So we come back and then we hang out for a couple weeks and then we go again. Right. Yeah. So it'll be fun. Yes.
Once the group is decided, how much time do the kids need to budget for the preparation?
Yeah, so we usually meet, it was like once every 2 or 3 weeks, I remember, right, about. And so we don't like spend a ton of time on it. So we'll meet to like sort of checkpoint and see like what ideas you have, what do you guys think, and then from that meeting, we try to decide, okay, Lawrence, you go try these 2 or 3 projects and report back. Did it work? Why didn't it work? How did you fix it? All these kind of things, and then give you time to go do all that, and then we come again, and then again and again. So I mean, I'm hoping that now that we've done this, will be our 5th time. And if some of the past students go, that we'll have a lot of like experience baked in, and they'll be able to recognize like, oh, that you want to build a helicopter with like metal and everything. That's not going to work, right? So they'll know to give advice, so that we can direct it a little bit easier. Yes, Biba. What's the temperature like there? Myanmar summer is their rainy season, so it will rain a lot, like you've never experienced before probably. So kids there, they're used to it, so they don't even care about raincoats or umbrellas really. They're just like, whatever, you're gonna get wet no matter what. The buildings there, like in that first school we went to, the floor was wet. They just left the windows open. They're like, yeah, whatever, it rains. We know, so they don't care. Japan will probably be quite hot, like hot, sticky hot. It's a weird hot that is different. Yeah. Yes.
What's the deal with bugs? Like, are there like really cool bugs or?
What's the deal with bugs? Really cool bugs. So the first couple of times we went, we stayed in a hotel that had a lot of bugs. You would have been really impressed with that. We've since upgraded to a very nice hotel that doesn't have as many bugs. Still has power outages. It's normal. I don't know. We don't.
Just get a bug.
Yeah, you just get bug spray.
Yeah. It'll work.
I mean, we wear like everybody gets like mosquito repellent and all that stuff, and you wear like longi, like the long dresses and stuff. Most of the days because you're going to temples and you're going to schools, which requires things like that. So they're not going to bite you too much. Yeah. Other questions? Cool. I think we're at the end. If anybody has any questions afterwards you want to talk about, we can talk. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and I hope everybody applies.
Yeah, applications due next Sunday.
Yeah, applications due next Sunday, all right?